outliers before in terms of that they're really extreme high numbers or low numbers, and usually they're mistakes, okay? But we actually need to be able to work out a statistical way of working out if something is an outlier or not, because depending on the data, a number which you might think is big might actually kind of fit within the data set. And so we can't just go, oh, I think that number's an outlier, so I'm just going to disregard it. Okay? Now, be really aware in an assessment, unless I tell you to disregard an outlier or I tell you to actually look for an outlier, you assume that all the data is included. Okay? If you do disregard an outlier, so you actually get rid of it when you do your calculations, you need to always actually say, I've taken out this outlier. So you need to make that really clear. Because if you, in a test or in something else, you just take out an outlier and then give me all a heap of stats, so mean, mode, median, etc., and you've taken that outlier out, I'm just going to think that you've made a mistake and that your answers are all wrong. So you need to really clearly state, I've taken out this outlier, but don't do it unless I ask you to. So one of the questions I'm sure will be something like, is there an outlier in this data? Prove it. And so that's where you need to do this process. And then it will say, take out the outlier and now find the stats, and that's when you do it. So unless it tells you to, don't do it, okay? And don't worry about it. Often they might say, there is an outlier in this data set, what's that going to do to things like the mean, the median, and the mode? So if there was suddenly, so if we look at that first top box and whisker plot, if there was suddenly an outlier there and I said, okay, what did that do? If I took that outlier out, what's going to happen to the mode? If I took the outlier out, what's going to happen to the mode in this set of data up here? Nothing, okay? What about the median? It might move down a little bit, but not much, because it's only just going to be taking out one score, so it's going to move down half a score. What's going to happen to the mean? It's going to change quite dramatically because that outlier will have pulled the mean up, so it's going to move down quite a bit. So that's the descriptions you need. That's more likely the questions you're going to be asked about outliers. However, I'm sure there'll be at least one question which actually asks you to prove that something's an outlier. And to prove it, to find out if a number is an outlier, one criteria you can use is that if the number is more than 1.5 times the interquartile range beyond the upper and lower quartiles. So that is the rule, okay? If a number is more than 1.5 times the interquartile range beyond the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So for this example, it said, is 31 an outlier? Is that minimum score an outlier? So we find the interquartile range, which is 16. We multiply that by 1.5. So we're going 1.5 times interquartile range, so we go 24. So we've done that step 2. So then we need to look at this and go, okay, 24. We need to go 24 on from 76, which is 100, so up to 100. Any score under 100 is not an outlier, any score above 100 is an outlier. Okay, and then we go 24 less than 60, so 36, and so we go any score less than 36 is an outlier, any score more is included. So is 31 an outlier? Yes, okay, but 91 is not. And that's the sort of question we might ask you. Are the minimum maximum scores in this set of data an outlier? You need to just work out the interquartile range, times it by 1.5, and then take it from Q1, add it to Q3, and that's your range which is inclusive of no outliers. Anything outside of that is outliers. Sorry, grammar. Can everyone understand that process? Okay, so I would say it wouldn't be a lot of marks in a test or anything, but it would be some marks there, okay, in terms of a couple of quick questions about outliers. But mainly the question we'll always ask is about how it impacts on those statistical calculations of mean, mode, median. Okay, if you don't get asked to identify an outlier, then you don't do it. If you ever take one out, you need to note it. You need to actually say, I have taken out an outlier to find these statistics. Everyone understands? All right. So I'll just end that.